This episode is brought to you by SD Sober Living. If you or someone you know needs a safe, supportive recovery home, then reach out to SD Sober Living at www.sdsoberliving.org or call 619-334-9869. That's 619-334-9869. Come get some fuck fentanyl and some San Diego recovery at SD Sober Living. This is the Fuck Fentanyl guy letting you know if you or a loved one is injured in a motorcycle accident, then call 1-800-Lawtigers for a free case evaluation. We are available 24/7. That's 1-800-Lawtigers with over $1.5 billion recovered in verdicts and settlements. Nobody got your back more than Lawtigers. Hey everyone, I want to take a moment to talk about something really important: mental health and addiction. If you or someone you know is struggling with mental health or drug addiction, especially if they're facing chronic relapses or have a history of bouncing in and out of treatment centers, I want to recommend Baja Rehab. Baja is a premier lockdown treatment center located just 45 minutes from the San Diego border in beautiful Mexico. I've had the opportunity to visit their facility, and I can tell you firsthand, it's not only stunning, but also equipped with everything needed for recovery. They offer comprehensive medical detox and have a dedicated team of drug counselors and specialized therapists. If you are ready to take the first step towards healing, call Shalom, the intake director, at 619-855-6368. That's 619-855-6368. Your loved ones deserve a second chance, so don't wait until it's too late. Reach out to Baja Rehab today.
Mind, little baby. I really think you mine, little baby. Hope you shine, little baby. But this shit takes time, little baby. This shit takes time, little baby. Yeah, you know time is of the essence. Girl, you gotta be patient. You gotta be patient. Time is of the essence. Girl, you gotta be patient. You gotta be patient. Time is of the essence. You know time is of the essence. Yeah, you gotta be patient. Time is of the essence. Girl, you gotta be patient. Gotta be patient. Don't got time for a hoe. I'm on the grind, little hoe. Sipping wine, little hoe. Yeah, I'm doing all these shows. Going dough with some hoes. Got some good at the pole. Yeah, murder what she wrote.
It takes time.
It takes time.
Trippy Red. I never heard of that song.
Really?
Nuh-uh.
It's off his first album. It's one of my favorites.
Oh, fuck yeah. All right. Well, my name is Luis Romero, and I'm the Fuck Fentanyl guy, and this is the Fuck Fentanyl podcast. I have my friend Grace on here. How you doing?
Amazing. How are you?
I'm doing absolutely great. So cool. I got to meet you at the Pink 7 event.
Yeah.
That was really rad.
Yeah.
I was actually just talking about that, like, literally, like, a couple hours ago.
Really?
Yeah. I was like, oh, it was really cool. Like, you know, we had stuffed like 100 people into this, like, little...
Tiny
little beach shop.
It was sick, though.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. They got lit.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Pink 7 does cool stuff.
Yeah, they do.
Very cool.
Oh, man. Shout out to Brandon. He's my buddy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. He was on one of my first podcasts. Like,
Oh, dang.
yeah, like I would say like he's like maybe like in the early 20s.
Nice.
Where are you from?
I'm from Tucson, Arizona.
Tucson?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
You're
Oh.
like,
Yeah, I know. I mean, usually like people kind of just the people I know that live in Arizona are just people that can't afford to live here anymore, and they just go over there.
It's a lot cheaper, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How was it growing up over there?
It was good. I love Tucson with all my heart. But I think it was good for me to leave and get away from a lot of the stuff that I got into later in like my late teens. And I also think it's nice to not live in the place you went to high school at.
Yeah.
I think like having that space is a little bit
Sure.
like it gave me more room to grow. I miss it for sure. I miss Tucson, but it gave me room to grow and help me like find sobriety that was consistent.
Okay. How long have you moved away for?
I moved here 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. And you haven't went back?
Just to visit, but yeah, no.
I see.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. So, living in Tucson, one thing I can kind of definitely see is like you live over there. There's probably not a whole lot to do.
I mean, you can hug a cactus. No, I'm just kidding.
Fuck yes.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
There's honestly, the nature is amazing.
Oh, it
People
is.
like, you would be surprised. There's some really cool things. The food in Tucson's amazing.
Is it?
Really good communities, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So Tucson has a lot of cool stuff, but it doesn't have stuff to do in the same way San Diego does. San
Yeah.
Diego's like Barbie Dreamland.
Yeah. Barbecue. Yeah, I can see that. So when did you start indulging in substances?
I say that I was like, I really had the disease from the start. When I was young, I would
Yeah.
obsessively watch like YouTube videos of people doing drugs.
Really?
Yeah, or like a bartender had this YouTube account that I loved. So I had like
Yeah.
an obsession with substances from a very
Just seeing people get drunk and
and like talking about different drugs and how they work and the science and all of that. And
really?
and so I was like very curious from a young age.
Oh, serious? Huh?
But it wasn't until late high school that I like really got into using more. I just started smoking weed, and that was mostly what I did for a long time. And then as I grew up a little bit, it escalated.
Yeah.
But I didn't get into harder drugs or anything like that till after high school.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
And sorry, I'm drawing like a little blank here. You're seeing all these like videos and stuff like that, and then kind of just, I guess, kind of like going through like the motions of experimenting and all that. Okay.
And I was just curious. Like, I felt like they were experiences I wanted to have, not realizing all of the things that came with it. And I think like I kept
like the consequences.
So I kept like slowly growing and testing and like trying new things and trying to like push the bounds. And then that's when things like snowballed and escalated.
Yeah, no, I can see that. I mean, I never really went on YouTube very much, but I definitely like would watch like movies and stuff like that. I'd be like, that looks fun, you know.
Sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
No, it's interesting because it sounds strange to be like, you were 12 years old obsessively watching videos about people getting drunk. But I was like, I had that obsession from such an early age. I was so curious, and I was so like fixated on this idea of being able to like disconnect from my reality. And it just like,
was there any like usage going on in the household?
not really. My dad drank. My mom didn't really drink. So there was alcohol that I would be sneaky.
Oh yeah. Sneak in there.
Yeah.
Get one.
Yeah.
Help yourself.
But other than that, there was no like substances. No, my parents are very like clean cut. No drugs. Nothing like that.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's probably why maybe
I was
like you wanted to cross the boundary. All right. So like is that was like kind of a bit after high school is when things were getting a little more wild.
I moved to LA to go to school.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck, dude.
Yeah.
That must have been.
And I got an Adderall prescription as soon as I got there.
Yeah.
And it just snowballed very quickly, and I very fast started to abuse it and take it how I wanted to take it, which wasn't in a healthy way.
No, absolutely not.
And then that just like kind of grew, and I was smoking a lot of weed and drinking a lot, and I had more easy access to the Adderall, so that's mostly what I did when I like first started.
Sure, because it was
like
prescribed to you.
Yeah, it was there. And I had just moved to LA, and I wasn't really sure like I wasn't in a place where I was like looking for it, but then I actually got hospitalized for my mental health.
Oh, see.
And I met someone there who was a lot more heavily of a drug user.
I see.
And so she became like a path that I was able to get other drugs from.
Oh, I see.
And so
I see.
that's when it like, I left LA for a little while because of my mental health, and then came back. And when I came back, I like started dabbling in other things. And
I see.
With her, I was like, oh, I could try this. I could do that. And it just kind of turned into something a lot more at that point.
I see. So how long were you in LA for?
So at first I was there for like maybe 4 months,
Yeah.
and then I left, and then I went back for like a month and a half, and I crashed out real fast and went straight to rehab right when COVID hit. Like the
Oh,
day,
no shit.
yeah, the day I chose to go to rehab was the day that,
They implemented the lockdowns.
yeah, at my school, I went to UCLA, and the day they were like, okay, we're closing, like, we're not doing in-person classes, nothing like that.
Yeah.
So the day it shut down was the day I was like on the plane to rehab. And so I had a
Fuck.
weird pandemic experience because I
Yeah.
was literally in rehab for the first 60 days, and then I was at home like recovering, and it was
Yeah.
just kind of a weird.
Yeah. It's funny too, because I've been clean for a while,
Mhm.
so I was kind of very like kind of used to like just being able to like kind of just go to a meeting as I please, and just look it up online. Oh, okay, I can go to this one or this one, or I'll contact one of my buddies and you going to this one, whatever. And then once COVID hit, it was like they all shut down, and it was super weird, and it was like they didn't really know what to do. And like I think like there were some like, oh, that was like it's secret and stuff, like in somebody's fucking backyard, or like I think I went to one in Oceanside, and I live here, so that was like fucking
Far.
an hour.
Yeah.
It was an hour fucking drive. So there was one. It was a heroin anonymous meeting,
Mhm.
and they would have it like in a skate park.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
It was actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
I didn't hate the location.
Yeah, that's kind of
actually.
a vibe.
Yeah, it was. So like and it was like kind of one of those like I can't even think of it was like a pool almost, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
I can't even think of the name. I'm like so like fucking out of it. But anyways, so that we all circle around it.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I also like the like juxtaposition of having a AA meeting in places where a lot of people like get high. Or, like,
Yeah, obviously,
I
yeah.
think it's so
I think
funny.
I might have smelled some weed a few
Yeah.
times. The
Like-
wind pushing, like, oh.
Even like I have a meeting I like to go to that's in OB. It's like a
Oh yeah.
Beach bonfire meeting at night
Oh.
on Saturdays. The
yeah.
CA meeting.
The CA meeting. Yeah, I love that meeting.
Yeah, it's a really good meeting, and
Yeah, it's cool.
I actually think I'm gonna go today. But I love being there and like people walking past and
Yeah,
like
yeah,
just
yeah,
being
yeah.
like, I had once like a group of people walked up and were just like standing and like listening to us all like everyone shares, and I was just like, what are you doing? But I think it's funny when like a place you traditionally think of or like associate with like
yeah, partying and
yeah is somewhere that
drinking
an AA group is like, hey, we're here, like what's up?
Want me to tell you something funny?
Yeah.
So okay, I'm trying not to get off topic, but I'll just say this real quick. I have for my brand, I throw like an anniversary party and an event, and the very first one I did was in OB, and yeah, fuck, it's just the weirdest timing. So we were we had our own bonfire pit.
Mhm.
I woke up hella early. I set it up right there.
Yeah. You have
And
to like stake it out.
Yeah, I had to stake it out. I was
Yeah.
there the whole fucking day.
Dang.
And I was very unprepared because it was overcast. And I was like, oh, okay, so I don't have to put too much sunscreen on. I just put a little bit on, and I got fucking burnt.
Oh no.
And I was like out of it. Like I was way worse than I am right now. I was like fucking just like, I felt like I was on a sick one because like I think my brain was starting to get dehydrated and all that.
Yeah.
Anyways, like so we're almost at the end of it, and I had like a couple speakers on, and one of them was my buddy Mike Fior, and then the other one was my first podcast guest actually, and someone that really helped me start my brand was Kylie. So they were speaking and stuff, and they're hitting real personal stuff, and it's it's recovery and awareness kind of mixed in together.
Yeah.
And again, so they're like, they're pouring their hearts out and stuff, and then like as they're doing that, this motherfucker like by the parking lot decided to like set up his fucking sound system. It is like huge, like speakers, like 4 or 5 speakers, and he's just bumping like a fucking rave.
You were like, bro.
And we're all like, and there's a meeting, and the CA meeting was going on too.
Oh no.
So there's my event, there's the CA meeting, and this motherfucker bumping music, and then guys from the meeting, and then me and some of my friends were all like ganging up on this dude, telling him like kick rocks, and we're just like, hey, look, can you? Well, at first we were nice. We're like, hey, can you just turn it down a little bit? because people are trying to talk and we can't hear anything besides your music.
Yeah.
And then he lower it like a little bit,
And then you walk away
and walk away, and then a boop 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 boop, and all of a sudden it's back up, and then I was like, motherfucker, and then we all were like threatening. My homeboy Chris lost it that day. It was hilarious.
Oh my
You could hear him like from across the beach, like, motherfucker, I'm gonna fuck you up. Like,
yeah, it's just like disrespectful, especially if like you're trying to have a space held for recovery, and someone is just like, I don't care.
Yeah,
like,
he's just does not. He was totally like, you could tell he was high on whatever, man. Just like, I'm gonna bump my music. On the beach, and everyone gonna hear.
Like literally drive down 10 parking spaces.
Yeah,
and you'll be fine.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, and I really felt bad for the meeting too, because they were like next to it. They were getting the full concert. It's just garbage shit too. It's not like it's fucking good music.
You're just like, bro, what are you playing?
Yeah, dude. Dude, I was like, so yeah. But so all the meetings and stuff like that were just like, I remember like during COVID, it was like super on the low. Every like institution that had meetings and stuff like that didn't set anything up. I think I heard there was a couple places they just didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
they were like, whatever. I know we're not supposed to. We'll go ahead, shut us down.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely difficult to navigate. And I feel like with there's something about being in a room full of alcoholics and addicts that like just online Zoom meetings, like it just can't capture it the same way. No, it doesn't. No.
And like most of the time you can tell people are like not tuned in. You could tell, like,
or you have like the people like Zoom bombing and doing weird shit and like saying nasty things. I've literally I've been in meetings, like Zoom meetings, and people like coming in and like cursing, saying the N-word, like saying crazy stuff. Yeah. And like
to get a reaction?
Yeah, to try and like interrupt, and like them just like kicking people out. And it was like, that was during the pandemic.
Yeah, I guess I could see that.
Yeah.
Just like
people thinking it's a joke.
Right. There's nothing better to do.
No.
I think that's why some of them have like passwords and all that. So I never really like got into the Zoom thing. Like I wasn't against it, but I just wasn't feeling it. I might have done like to this day maybe like 20 Zoom meetings, and the reason why it's even as high as 20 is because I had a commitment. But it was after the pandemic. It was fucking hilarious. They created this commitment for CA actually, and they was a Zoom for the residents, H&I.
Oh, cool.
So they created that for the pandemic, and that commitment was still going on for like at least a couple years, and somehow like it came across to me. My friend was like, hey, do you want to lead the panel? And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And I actually at first I was like, man, motherfucker, why are you asking me this shit? Like, I got so much shit going on. But when I did it though, I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
Because I got to hear like I literally would just invite my friends from out of San Diego. So it was really rad.
So you could get more people that you normally wouldn't be able to reach.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. Yeah. That I really loved. And it was really, it was great in that aspect. The only thing that was kind of a bummer was that it was like, when I had the commitment, it was like the tail end of them trying to do it. And they decided like, I think like 1 week. And it was kind of convenient for me because I had stuff going on, but they just told me, we're not doing it no more. They're just going to take the clients to the meetings in person now.
Oh.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay.
You're like, I thought I was doing a good job.
Yeah, I thought I was doing a good job. there was a few people that tuned in, but so that was like my whole experience with Zoom and stuff like that. But like I much more prefer in-person meetings.
Me too. And you know what I prefer over Zoom meetings? If like I'm at home just doing stuff, but I want to hear the message, is Sobercasts.
Sobercast?
It's a podcast that they just do like people's speaker meetings and it's just speakers sharing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And they have like some really good stuff. Yeah, it's really cool. I like it a lot. Nice. My old sponsor told me about it, and I love just like putting that on and kind of like cleaning or whatever, and having the Sobercast, because it's just like really strong speakers. And I think like Zoom meetings are good, but they can get a little chaotic sometimes. All over the place.
Because you have outside interferences.
Yeah, but like the sober cast is like the message is strong
Yeah.
every time, and I
Is
love
it is
that.
it like just live or is it edited?
Yeah, it's live.
Oh, okay.
Or well, it's edited, but it's like live clips from
I see.
people's speaker, like at actual meetings
I
or
see.
like at conferences.
Oh,
or
I
whatnot.
see. I see. I get it. I get it. I get it. So they
Yeah.
recorded it and then they just like kind of chop it up a little bit
Yeah.
and then they put it on there.
Mhm.
That's really cool. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Shit. But that's what and it's funny because I right now my life is so chaotic and busy. I don't really get a chance to listen to very much recovery based podcasts.
Yeah.
Like not even really my own, to be honest. I just but I do enjoy it though. I
Yeah.
actually do. There's a few good ones. I think a couple of them kind of shut down. I think they kind of ran out of gas, but I do appreciate to hear like a message that from somebody who I would
Normally
never
wouldn't
meet
cross paths
or
with.
come across. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really rad.
Yeah.
And
People from all over the country
yeah.
and all. Yeah, it's really cool.
absolutely. And so but yeah, that's why that was one of the reasons why I wanted to start this one too.
Yeah.
'Cause
How long have you been doing the Fuck Fentanyl podcast?
just 1 year.
Just 1 year?
Yeah, literally.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
You've done so much.
Yeah, I know. Just slowly turned into like and it's funny too because I only was planning on doing 12 episodes. Like
Yeah.
legit, like I already had the guests kind of made up in my mind, and I was like, okay, like and ironically, there was a couple that haven't even been on yet that were like
Yeah.
from the original 12 that I
Yeah.
had in my mind. But yeah, so it was gonna be like just like kind of like a little I was trying to do like a little maybe a mini series of it, and then I kind of when I started booking more guests and and there was some people who said yes that I thought were absolutely gonna say no.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
So you got like different perspectives and
much
things you
more,
weren't-
yeah.
Yeah.
And then and I also do try to cover like the more outside perspectives as well, like from people that are not addicts or
Yeah.
never done drugs, but they were affected.
Yeah.
So that was those are actually like some of my more favorite ones too, because it's like it's
They lived it in a different way.
yeah, they lived it in a very different way.
Yeah. And I thought it was cool because I personally am a stimulants girl.
Yeah.
I love stimulants. And so I
Yeah.
was like, I've never done fentanyl. Like
Never did Fetty?
No.
You missed it?
I missed it, but
Or did you not know that you did it? Yeah.
Shit. Uh-oh.
It's crazy though because even like let's just say Adderall for an example. Like
Mhm.
I had no idea. Like I swear to God, like in 2021, I had no idea that people can fake pills. Like
Yeah.
like they could press it and it'll look like a pill, but it's actually counterfeit.
Or
And
it's just
but it's Fetty inside. Like
Yeah.
I had no idea about that, like at all.
And so many of them are.
Yeah,
Like they're
Yeah.
just putting fentanyl on everything.
yeah.
It's crazy.
Like just like kind of
Like-
like false advertisement.
Yeah.
Like you think you're getting an Adderall or maybe a Xanax, but you're getting Fetty and then you're out.
Yeah. It's crazy. That happened. I was at a sober living and one person, it was really awful. He overdosed
Yeah.
and passed away. It was my second day at the sober living.
Oh fuck.
And he passed away. I got there and there was cops all over and
Yeah.
whatever. But then they realized some of the other people in the sober living were like, oh, they don't drug test for fentanyl here. And it
Oh,
just
what?
it just
They don't?
they didn't at the time. They do now.
Oh, okay.
Well, they closed down, but
that happens too.
yeah, but they people were like, oh shit, this is a workaround. And so people were seeking it out and it was just chaotic. And it's scary because you never know with fentanyl and it's you never know how strong it's gonna be or how that it's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so having people trying to sneak around using it in the sober living was a really interesting it was sad. It was not interesting in a good way, interesting in
that is really
shit.
sad.
It was really sad.
Because they were trying to take advantage of a situation because it was kind of new and
they wanted to find a way to get high, which is I mean, I get that.
Yeah,
I did
yeah,
what
I
could
get
to
that
get
too.
high.
I get that too.
fucking
Like, hey,
get
if I can
that.
sneak it in.
find what you can.
Yeah.
At the same time, like, it's just scary what fentanyl can do. And so I
Yeah.
love that messaging of your
Oh, well, thank you.
podcast.
Fuck yeah.
It's bold. Fuck fentanyl.
Fuck
But
fentanyl.
for real.
Straight to the point.
Skip the bullshit.
Yeah,
Fuck that
right,
shit.
right.
Like, it's awful.
And it's so funny too, because I always like, so I love like this like message, and I love like even like the art of this and everything, and I was always trying to like go, well, this works for me, because that just speaks with my soul.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to try to find like a more toned down and family friendly message, and it's like it doesn't work for me. It's not the same. Like
if it's not true to how you feel, like if it's not how you connect with the message, I wouldn't try and morph it to fit.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the hard part, is like telling recovery stories and keeping it family friendly. Or
It's really hard to challenge you.
Like, how do you do that? But I think like the boldness of your message is really powerful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. You know, one time I was asked to speak, and it was actually a place that was my home group. It's kind of like a Native American centered meeting, but it was like, it's an NA meeting, but it's like has Native American traditions into it. Yeah. And you know, it's pretty big on not cursing.
Oh.
So I was like, dude. So that was a challenge, and I actually wanted the challenge.
Yeah.
But the problem is that I don't know how to share, let alone speak, like in a calculated and like kind of like in a scripted way where I could just articulate my thought patterns. Like what comes out fucking comes out. And so
and the curse words
just go right in. And then unfortunately, the secretary, my friend Julia, like was like, hey. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I cursed maybe like 5 times, but
you're like, for me that's a little.
That was I worked really hard. I tried to make it PG-13 as hard as I could. But yeah, it's funny. I definitely like to challenge myself though, but because I understand too, like, you know, if it's so many F-bombs, it will like distract people.
I think it distracts from the message sometimes.
It does. Like if I like, or you know, it's like kind of, you could say the same when people try to turn their stories into comedy acts.
Yeah, I think it's hard though when you have so much, like so many feelings and so much emphasis connected to what you're sharing, and so to not, like, if you're used to cursing in a casual way, then when you're trying to explain something emphatically, you're gonna curse as well. It's hard not to.
Yeah, it happens. It's just I'm working on it. But I did appreciate being put in that spot, because it brought my awareness up way more. So I'm actually trying my absolute best to filter.
Yeah. I used to curse so much, it was really bad. Actually, when I went to rehab, I did like a family week thing, and my parents came in, and one of my dad's like confrontations for me was that I curse in front of my grandma. And I was like, he was like, I would like you to stop doing that. And I was like, no, I'm sorry. I was like, it just comes out. I get overwhelmed with feelings and I curse. But like that was one of his like main confrontations for me in the family week, and I was like, oh my goodness.
It's so funny. But I was curious too. So after you went to LA and stuff, kind of going back to your story. What kind of transpired after that? You got out of a mental health episode? Yeah,
so it's all very like convoluted and tied together.
Sure, absolutely.
But, so I was hospitalized twice in LA.
Yeah.
And then I was hospitalized, I don't fully remember because trauma brain, I think two or three times in Tucson.
Yeah.
And 3 times in Tucson. And that has been throughout my like entire attempts to get sober.
Sure.
And like recover. I'm also bipolar. And so there's a lot of like with some of my symptoms and how that tied in with my addiction, it was a lot. And I like first went to rehab when I was 19. I tried getting sober. At that point, well, I lied to myself. I was like, I don't have a problem. Like,
Sure, sure.
I don't have a problem.
Yeah,
I'm
we
not
all
going to
do.
tell them that I smoke weed. Like,
Right,
what?
right.
That's just weed.
Yeah, it's
And
just
like,
me. It's fine.
yeah, whatever. And it just kind of grew over time of me going back and forth. And I think like the reality that addiction is a progressive illness
Yeah.
and it really does just get worse the more you go on. And so that's
Yeah.
like what
Sure.
transpired for me.
Yeah.
But within it, I was trying to also stay stable with my mental health. And so when I left LA, I moved back to Tucson, and I had actually I went to rehab in Tucson. I had just done meth and for the first time, and it triggered psychosis super, super fast. I was
Really?
like instantly in psychosis.
Really?
And I was like instantly not okay. I was wandering around my school campus talking to myself, like hearing voices.
First time?
Yeah, first
Shit.
time. I have very fragile brain chemistry.
I see.
And so when I went back to Tucson, I was just a wreck. I went straight to rehab and was there for like 60 days.
Yeah.
And then moved back in with my parents. And I just like drank a ton, and I wasn't really using drugs because of the paranoia.
Yeah.
I started to do coke here and there, and I was like just really heavily drinking, and I was trying to play the game like, well, I can wait till 5 o'clock, so it's okay. And then I wouldn't, or I would like wait till 5 o'clock and then just like go balls to the wall crazy. And like, it just didn't, I couldn't find a cease, and I kept trying things other than AA and telling myself that I could do it on my own. But then I would go hang out with old friends who still used, or they would smoke in front of me, and I would be like, oh, okay, I can do it. And then it would like re-trigger a ton of symptoms, and I would be set back weeks because I would be in such a fragile place. So it was a weird time because I was like bouncing back and forth from sobriety, but every time I bounced away from sobriety, I did something worse, or I took it a bit further, and it escalated. And so I did that for a couple of years before I started really consistently using cocaine. And I loved coke. I was like, I love that shit. Oops, I don't love it anymore. Well,
Not no more, but I know what you're saying.
Then I was so delusional about it too. Like I had a friend and they were like, I don't think you should need to do a hard drug to get things done. And I was like, bro, coke isn't a hard drug.
No, it's not.
Blow's not a hard drug. What are you talking about? Like, what do you mean?
It is pretty socially accepted.
Yeah. And I was just like, whatever. And it just like, I just continued to mess with my life and mess things up. And like, it ended in me going back to rehab. I went back to rehab, and like took it more seriously. Didn't have a rehab romance. That was a miracle.
No rehab romance? Oh,
not that time.
out.
I had quite a few. I had previous rehab romances.
I see.
Some that went a little chaotic.
Couple nights at the Motel 6.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. But then as soon as I got out of rehab, I was really struggling with my mental health.
Yeah.
And I was like sober, whatnot. And then I tried to overdose.
Purposely?
Yeah. I had a suicide attempt, and that is what brought me to San Diego.
Oh, no shit.
Because they as in my family and the treatment team were like,
intervened.
Yeah, I went straight to the hospital. It was honestly a miracle. My mom knew something was going on. She could just tell. And so she like was calling I was in a sober living, and she was calling them and like, can you go check on her? Can you go check on her? Right. They wouldn't answer her. So she just she came in herself and found me, and I had taken all my pills. And sorry, trigger warning. But I went straight to the hospital, and from the hospital, I went home for like 2 or 3 days, and then came straight to San Diego to go to a treatment center I was there for 2 years living in La Mesa.
Wow.
So that's kind of like the in-between of like from when I first started using to now. That's like a summed up version of the big things that happened. Of course, there was lots of benders and
Sure.
messy things and
Sure.
here and there and all
Right,
that.
right,
But
right.
what really pushed me to get to the point where I was that suicide attempt.
I see.
And so then I moved here and I had 3 years of sobriety.
3 years?
hmm And I
Wow.
relapsed the day after my 3 years.
Oh, you wanted to give it another whirl?
So today is my 90 days.
Hey, that's good. There you go. There you go. That's good. 90 days is that's great.
Yeah. So it's been a bouncing around journey for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Definitely not linear.
What made you want to? I'm sorry. I'm just curious. What made you want to go out after having 3 years? That's a pretty big milestone.
Yeah. I had been like struggling and debating it for a while and
I
like
see.
going to my therapist and being like, maybe I can drink again.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think I'm
Yeah,
fine.
yeah,
Da,
yeah,
da, da,
yeah.
da.
Yeah.
And then I was in a situationship with
Uh-oh.
someone who
Oh.
drank a lot. And
Oh. Uh-oh.
every time I saw him, he was drunk. He
Yeah.
wouldn't remember what we talked about. He would be like, he'd be like, "Oh, this is my friend Mike." I'd be like, "Yeah, you've introduced me to him like 8 times, bro."
A real
And
gentleman.
yeah, and so truly,
Yeah.
and it just kind of got me to a point where I was like, it was starting to get like renormalized in my head.
Sure.
And then I had a night where like it was a very tumultuous thing and I thought he had blocked me and
Uh-huh.
my ass is a little kooky, so I was like, you know what? He's drunk right now, so
Yeah.
I'm going to be drunk right now.
Oh.
And
Okay.
I'm not blaming it on him in any means. Like, I
Sure.
just think it was the context of being around it. Like, it was my decision.
Yeah.
I chose to
Definitely
drink.
was a little premeditated.
Yeah, I made that decision. It was my
Yeah.
like dry drunkenness that
Yeah.
led to it. Like it was
You weren't like going to meetings
no
or recovery or
no, I wasn't working a program, and
Sure.
so
Sure.
it was my actions that led to it. It just like that was the triggering point where I
Yeah.
was like so tired of being around someone who was drunk all the time and
Right.
not being able to be drunk, and so I was
Right.
like, I'll be drunk, and
Yeah.
then it devolved from there.
Uh-huh.
Not to spill the tea on him, but to spill the tea on him.
Sure.
He actually was like the next day, he was like, I saw him and he was like, "You drank without me? You drank and you didn't drink with me, you asshole."
Whoa.
And,
Wow.
and he was like joking. He was like, "Oh, you asshole." But he was like hounding me for the fact that I got drunk without him.
My God.
Even though I had relapsed the day after my 3 years.
Yeah.
That was not in the picture. He was just like without me.
Without you. Oh.
And he like,
How selfish.
I know. I was like, bro. And it quickly devolved from there. But I
Yeah.
was just like, that was, I think, a really weak point in my recovery is I was
Yeah.
like trying to date and do things alcoholically
Sure.
and trying to.
And that happens pretty often,
Yeah,
even when you're
I
in
was
recovery.
like, I was avoiding doing a program and doing the work. And instead I was like, I'm just going to like chase after all these people and like get my feelings hurt because I'm like,
Oh shit.
but not to be sad.
Yeah, not to be sad. Yeah.
Not to be sad, but I was just like not in a place to be dating, and I was like trying so hard to
Right.
do that to fill the void
Yeah,
that
yeah.
drugs had left.
Right,
and
right.
So I was accepting behavior that like wasn't,
Shouldn't be accepted.
that I shouldn't have been around.
Yeah, absolutely. And so after the relapse, was it just like a one night bender, or was it like
It was just like a few days of
a
drinking.
few days of drinking?
Mhm.
And what made you want to go back to being sober?
I knew, one, I felt awful. I
Yeah.
felt so sick. I felt so guilty. I felt so terrible. And two, I knew that I know with all my heart all the good things I have in my life are because of sobriety, and
Right.
what I'm beginning to understand is also God. And
Yeah.
like I was struggling with my conception of my higher power and all of those things for a long time.
Yeah.
But now like I'm comfortable and confident knowing that God and sobriety have gifted me the life that I have. And I knew that if I kept going down that path, I would lose it.
Right.
I knew I was going to have to go back to Arizona. My mom threatened. She was like, "You have to live with your dad."
Oh
I was
no.
like,
Oh
I
no.
was like, okay, I love you, Dad, but I don't want to live with you again. So I'm gonna get
Yeah. Get it
back on.
together.
Yeah, I was like, I cannot. And luckily, I was able to like the ism wasn't so overpowering that I wasn't
Right.
able
A
to.
few days is pretty that could be, like bounce right back to the, getting
Yeah,
back
I
on the
was,
wagon.
and that's something I was really that was instilled upon me in early sobriety when I
Right.
first started trying to get sober
Yeah.
was if you relapse or something happens, you take a step off the path, but you're not taking a step backwards. You just
Right.
have to step right back on the path.
Right.
And so I had to realize that I wasn't stepping away from, like, I wasn't stepping backwards and regressing,
Right.
like
Right.
losing everything I had
Right.
gained in those years of sobriety.
Right.
But I did need to step back on and continue moving forward, or else I would start to go backwards. And like,
Yeah.
I think it was just realizing that like the path had to continue, and I could tell that nothing good was going to come from it. And
Right.
I think I was scared. Like I was scared
Mhm.
of what my life looked like when I was in active addiction.
Right.
And I think like some of that is a healthy fear to have. Is
Yeah.
like to fear what those days or years or however long was like, because without that I wouldn't have the reminder as to why I'm doing it now.
Yeah.
And I think very quickly I had the reality check of like, oh fuck, it's gonna go to shit if I continue doing this. Like I'm gonna
Yeah.
go downhill if I don't get back in the program and find a way to stay sober. And I also feel like, generally speaking, life is better sober.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And my life is better sober, and I didn't want to lose that. And even though sorry, I'm yapping.
No, you're great. You're doing great.
The first years of my sobriety, the first like 2 years, I was really, like I said, I was a dry drunk. I was really,
Okay. Yeah. Fair.
I was very without a program and very like not emotionally sober.
Right.
And
Just didn't pick up.
no, exactly. And so I had to kind of go through those years of difficulty and like not feeling great in sobriety to get to the place I'm at now, where I can like rejoice and be grateful and see that like there's other steps you can take to live soberly in a positive way that isn't like you're trying to find ways to fill the void.
Sure.
I think I was trying to fill the void in a
Right,
lot of
right,
different
right.
ways.
In different, yeah. Absolutely.
Instead of substances, and it just wasn't working. I didn't have my higher power. I didn't have God to I did have God, but I didn't have a connection with God that I could
I feel that.
work with and pray to and like live with.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And now that you have 90 days, yeah. What's keeping you what's keeping you sober now?
Well, lots of things.
Yeah, absolutely.
The past 2 weeks have been pretty weird and funky and difficult emotionally, but I have like really strong moments of peace and gratitude and comfort that I didn't feel for years.
I see.
And the life that I'm starting to see grow is outstanding. And I'm like getting stuck over small things. And I think the reason partially that the past 2 weeks have been kind of funky is I've been slipping up on my recovery.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
And so I am staying sober because I'm doing everything I can to take the right next step.
Yeah.
And I've been a little irritable and discontent and not doing the program in the way that I need to like thrive in sobriety.
Yeah.
It's been like the past 90 days have had a lot of good.
Yeah.
It's just literally been the past 2 weeks that I've been like trying to use my memory of what sobriety can feel like to keep me going.
Right.
Because there's definitely been like some cravings coming up and some harder things over the past like I said, 2 weeks.
Mhm.
And it's just a matter now of remembering what life was like.
Yeah.
And that, like, even my bad right now, or like my quote unquote bad, even
Sure.
my struggles
Your
right now
struggles. Yeah.
are miles better than what my life looked like
Yeah.
3 years ago after I tried to kill myself. Like,
Yeah.
that's very different.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
It's actually very relatable because man, like I'm gonna say the last month, February, was like one of the most shittiest fucking months I've endured in quite some time. I had like a lot of like just a lot of stuff hit me
Yeah.
like all simultaneously, including being extremely sick and then and trying to like get better physically, but there's like a lot of mental stuff, and I got like it hit with a little bit of depression over
Yeah.
it, and I was like, but literally like the one thing I was thinking about because I guess maybe it was just great timing because like my milestone just hit a few days ago, and so like my I don't know if like what would be the right words for this, but I guess like all the stuff that I've been through,
Mhm.
yeah, through my addiction, it comes back to me like kind of like flashbacks and stuff like that
Yeah.
when my milestone is like so close. So I just literally was like, look, I've survived a lot worse than this.
Yeah.
A little bit of depression. I've survived a lot worse than financial woes. I've survived.
Yeah.
You know. I mean, I've been much more sick than. You know what
But
I mean? Just
now,
like you know what I
yeah.
mean. It's like it feels big because it's happening at the moment.
Yeah. But exactly, if you give yourself that context of
Yeah.
like what our lives used to look like
Yes.
before sobriety
Right.
and before recovery, it's
Yeah.
like, okay, I can do this. Like, I
Yes.
like
Yeah.
that. I've survived a lot worse than this.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Like, I relate to that
Yeah.
sentiment a
Yeah.
lot as well. I like that wording.
Yes. Yeah, and it's funny too because it was like doing another podcast just last week kind of brought me back into that mindset as well, just because I was like, fuck, I was thinking about all the like just being early in recovery and like being broke and having literally not a single thing to my name, and I was looking at years in prison. I owed thousands, like tens of thousands of dollars in money.
Yeah.
And it was like it was like this really nice little grave I dug for myself. And I'm just like trying to like just crawl myself out of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I did it.
Yeah.
I'm
That's
on the other
fucking
side of it.
amazing.
You know,
That's huge.
that's so it's just like stuff like that keeps me going,
Yeah.
gets me through that little bullshit.
Yeah. Remembering. And
Yeah,
like,
not forgetting where you come
not
from.
for, yeah, do not forget it.
Absolutely.
You don't need to live it every day, but you cannot forget it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming on here.
Yeah, absolutely.
I had fun with this one.
Me too. I started yapping. I started going, and I was just like, boom,
Yeah.
boom, boom.
Hey, that's how it goes, Your higher power like channeled inside you and get it out. All right. Well, thank you so much again.
Yeah, thank you. Thank
All
you for
right.
having me.
Absolutely. All right. Goodbye, everybody.